Okay, let's talk about something nobody's saying out loud, but everybody's thinking. The world is nervous about India. And when I say nervous, I mean the kind of nervous you feel when the quiet kid in the room suddenly starts speaking with absolute conviction and everyone realizes they've been underestimating them for years. Today, we're going to break down exactly why India has gone from being seen as a developing nation to becoming the biggest fear for world powers. And it has nothing to do with stereotypes. It has everything to do with power, numbers, and mindset. For decades, India carried the label of an emerging economy, a nation considered to be in transition, but not yet ready to sit at the global high table. It was often portrayed as a country full of potential, but always on the sidelines, waiting for permission to enter the world's most powerful economic circles. The West saw it as a market for cheap labor and outsourcing, but rarely as a competitor shaping the future of global trade. That image, however, no longer fits. India is no longer knocking on the door of the global economy. It is building its own, and the rest of the world is watching with a mix of admiration, curiosity, and in some cases, nervousness. The numbers themselves tell a striking story. For over a decade, India's GDP growth rate has consistently ranked among the highest in the world. Even during times of global slowdown, India has managed to maintain steady growth, something many advanced economies have struggled to achieve. Projections indicate that by 2030, India will become the world's third largest economy, overtaking some of the very nations that once positioned themselves as its economic mentors. This isn't a matter of if, but when. That kind of upward trajectory is enough to disrupt existing global balances because it reorders the hierarchy of economic influence. But India's rise is not just about raw numbers on a chart, it's about strategy. Unlike many nations whose growth has been heavily dependent on foreign aid, external loans, or approval from global powers, India's trajectory has been increasingly self-driven. Initiatives like Make in India have transformed the nation into a manufacturing hub, reducing reliance on imports and positioning India as an alternative to China in global supply chains. This is significant. For years, multinational corporations depended almost entirely on Chinese factories to produce goods. Now, many are diversifying into India, not out of charity, but out of necessity. And every time a major company shifts production to Indian soil, it strengthens India's role in global commerce. Beyond manufacturing, India is rapidly establishing itself as a global leader in technology and innovation. Its IT and software sector, already world famous, is being complemented by a wave of high-value tech startups. Unicorn companies, startups valued at over $1 billion, are appearing at record speed. These companies are not just competing locally, they are entering international markets, offering services and products that rival those of Silicon Valley and other tech giants. From fintech to health tech, from AI to renewable energy, India is shaping the industries of the future. The effect of this economic surge extends far beyond balance sheets. When an economy as large as India's changes course, it creates ripple effects across the entire globe. Trade routes shift to accommodate new flows of goods. Pricing structures of commodities change as Indian demand and supply enter the equation. Supply chains get restructured as companies hedge risks by investing in India. Even currency valuations and foreign policies begin to adapt to India's growing clout. What was once a reactive, dependent economy has become an independent force, capable of influencing markets on its own terms. Economic power means little if it cannot be protected. Throughout much of the 20th century, India's military was often seen as reactive, strong enough to defend its borders, but not positioned as a global force. Its strategy was largely defensive, shaped by immediate threats from neighboring rivals and regional conflicts. But the India of today tells a very different story. India is rapidly modernizing its military, reshaping its defense industry, and building alliances that place it firmly on the map as one of the most formidable powers of the 21st century. At the heart of this transformation is a deliberate push toward indigenous development. For decades, India depended heavily on foreign imports for its weapons systems. Tanks, aircraft, and even basic rifles were sourced abroad. Now, under initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, Self-Reliant India, the country is investing in homegrown defense technology. The results are already visible. The Agni-V intercontinental ballistic missile, capable of carrying nuclear warheads across continents, signals not just deterrence but reach. The Tejas fighter jet, designed and built entirely in India, is another symbol of this shift. Proof that India is no longer just a buyer of military hardware, but a producer and increasingly an exporter. India's modernization isn't confined to land, air, and sea. It is expanding aggressively into cyber and space domains, recognizing that future wars will be fought beyond traditional battlefields. With a growing fleet of military satellites, India can track enemy movements, secure communications, and provide pinpoint guidance for its missile systems. Its anti-satellite test in 2019 sent a clear signal. India is prepared to defend itself in space, joining a select group of nations with that capability. This integration of space and cyber defense with conventional power makes India's military not only modern but also future ready. What amplifies India's strength further is its strategic network of alliances. Unlike smaller states that rely on one superpower for protection, India has cultivated defense ties with multiple heavyweights. Its partnerships with France bring access to advanced fighter aircraft like the Rafale. Its cooperation with Israel provides cutting-edge drone and missile technologies. Long-standing ties with Russia continue to supply critical platforms such as the S-400 missile defense system. At the same time, Growing defense collaboration with the United States integrates India into high-tech defense networks and strengthens its role in the Indo-Pacific strategy. This multi-source approach ensures that India is never dependent on a single partner while still benefiting from advanced technology from all sides. Nowhere is this presence more strategically important than in the Indo-Pacific, home to the world's busiest and most vital shipping lanes. Nearly 40% of global trade flows through this region, and whoever influences it holds enormous leverage over global economics. India's expanding Navy aircraft carrier projects and surveillance capabilities are not just about defense, they are about shaping regional security architecture. Alongside alliances like the Quad, with the US, Japan, and Australia, India is positioning itself as a key stabilizing power in this critical zone. What makes all this particularly significant is the psychological effect on India's adversaries and competitors. A nation of over 1 billion people with a booming economy and now a rapidly modernizing, self-sufficient military is not just another regional power. It is a country that others must think twice before confronting. In global strategy, deterrence is often as powerful as direct conflict, and India's modernization has created exactly that. The fear itself has become the weapon. India's rise as a military power is not about aggression, but about ensuring that its growing economic and geopolitical weight is matched by defense capabilities strong enough to secure it. By investing in indigenous systems, expanding into new domains of warfare, and building diverse alliances, India has transformed from a reactive power into a proactive force. And for those used to seeing India as a quiet defensive state, this transformation is nothing short of unsettling. If you want to predict a nation's future, look at its people. And here lies India's secret weapon, its youth. Over 65% Indians are under the age of 35, the youngest large population in the world. That's an energetic, ambitious workforce with decades of productivity ahead. Unlike aging populations in Europe or Japan, India's young workforce is growing skilled and increasingly innovative. India is producing engineers, doctors, AI specialists, coders, and entrepreneurs on an unprecedented scale. And they're not just working for others. They're founding startups competing head-to-head with Silicon Valley and Beijing. From IT and software exports to pharmaceuticals, clean energy, fintech, and electric mobility, India's innovation engine is firing on all cylinders. Government support, a strong startup ecosystem, and a culture that values problem solving are accelerating the momentum. When 1 billion plus people, young, educated, and tech-driven, push innovation forward, it becomes unstoppable. For other nations, this isn't competition, it's an existential threat. For decades, India's foreign policy was cautious, balancing relationships but avoiding bold moves. Not anymore. Today, India plays its own game on the global chessboard. It talks to everyone but takes orders from no one. India partners with the US on defense, buys energy from Russia, invests in Africa, builds infrastructure in Southeast Asia, and strengthens ties with the Middle East. This multi-alignment strategy means India isn't anyone's pawn. It's a player in its own right. From the Quad Alliance and the Indo-Pacific to Bryce expansion and climate change leadership, India is shaping the order instead of fitting into it. The ability to say no to Washington without losing the West, or no to Beijing without losing Asia, is true sovereignty. And for nations used to an India that needed approval, this independence is deeply unsettling. Military and economic power may intimidate, but soft power persuades. And India's cultural influence is massive. Bollywood films, yoga, cuisine, festivals, these aren't just entertainment. They're cultural exports shaping global perception. Soft power matters because perception influences policy. India now uses digital diplomacy, global events like the International Day of Yoga, and its huge diaspora to amplify its cultural brand. The result, India is no longer defined by others as developing or third world. It's defining itself, vibrant, ancient, yet modern, confident. Just as Hollywood gave America soft power and K-pop gave South Korea global influence, India's cultural rise builds goodwill that translates into political strength. For rivals, that's a quiet but powerful challenge. You can't demonize a nation when the world embraces its culture. Here's the part nobody talks about, but it may be the most important. Nations rise not just with money or weapons, but with mindset, and India's mindset has shifted. For decades, its tone in global affairs was cautious, almost apologetic. Now it's confident, direct, and assertive. Leaders address summits unapologetically. Trade negotiators walk away from unfair deals. Citizens, especially youth, are prouder and more vocal about their identity. This assertiveness is contagious. Businesses expand aggressively. Artists tell bolder stories. Scientists tackle bigger challenges. It creates a feedback loop of ambition. For those used to a compliant India, this new confidence is uncomfortable because mindset shapes destiny, and India now believes it belongs at the top table, not as a guest, but as a permanent member. India's rise isn't just about GDP numbers, weapons, or population. It's about belief in itself, its people, its culture, and its future. That's what truly keeps the world on edge. Because when a nation of over 1 billion people starts moving with confidence, innovation, and power, there's no stopping it.